Chief, you want to come on up and join me?
Right over here. Let's have a place for me.
Come on up, Reverend. Chief, Reverend, Daryl. All right. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning and helping us spread the word about a very exciting, innovative program that has been in discussions within my office, and certainly the theme and development has been in our thoughts and prayers since I got into office. So if you hear excitement in my voice, I said to Gary, who works on our victim services within our office, this is a long time coming. So thank you for being here today and helping us spread the word about this new program throughout Florida. As you know, I'm Ashley Moody. I have the great privilege of being the Attorney General here in Florida. And with me, as you can see, are members of our urban leagues, law enforcement, people that love their community and want to see us develop ways to improve how we address crime in our state. And I'm just so honored that they would brainstorm and be here to support projects like this. Before I begin, I'd like to say thank you to Senator Rousson, who could not be with us here today because he is in Tallahassee doing his job as a senator. But Senator Rousson has been engaged and thoughtful on some of these issues since I took office, and we're just so grateful that he is supportive of this issue. So we're here today to announce a new program called Thrive. Thrive has been developed and will be implemented specifically in areas in our state where we've identified as having higher than average crime rates or dealing with a cycle of violence that we want to be more engaged and creative and strategic, thoughtful in how we're addressing the root of crime. Thrive will be a partnership between the Attorney General's office and the Urban Leagues of Florida in Leon, Duval, Pinellas, and Broward, where we will insert victim advocates in conjunction with Urban League to identify and recognize young victims of crimes in areas where we really need to be more thoughtful of a support structure for guidance in making sure that those young people that are experiencing traumatic events, that are the victims of crime, can effectively recover. As a juvenile judge a long time ago in my past life, before I was the Attorney General, I saw every day how young people's lives were changed because they were the victim of a traumatic event. And we know that if a young person experiences trauma of crime, they are 35% more likely to become serious chronic or violent offenders themselves. We know that if a young person experiences domestic violence, that they may go on and are 3 times more likely to be offenders themselves. And it is statistics like these and our ability to go back and examine how this cycle progresses that we know we have to start in the beginning when the trauma happens and ensure, because as I noticed many times, some of these young people who witness, who are a part of, who experience crime within their circles, and that could be within their own home, from people that are close to them or their families, or it could be because they are within a peer group where violence becomes the way of life and the expectation, and they are witnessing and affected or victimized by that. And so we know from these experiences and from the statistics and from examining the data that we have to start earlier and making sure where there may not be a strong support structure in this young person's life, that we can offer the resources, the thoughtful guidance, and the support structure they may not otherwise have to lead them on a road to effective recovery from that trauma. And that is what Thrive is meant to do. It is meant to give hope to those victims where they may not have hope. It is meant to give them a way to defend themselves when they may be defenseless. It is meant to give them guidance and support where they may have none at home. And that is what Urban League is so good about doing. Stepping into the lives of young people, giving them a sight and a path and an expectation in life where maybe no other person has done that for them. And so it was a no-brainer when we were deciding how we were going to implement this new approach, that we would partner with the urban leagues throughout Florida, especially in certain communities where they want that extra support, help, and guidance in improving their crime rates. We, as Floridians and as community leaders, know that our families want nothing more than to grow up and raise children in an area that is free from violence and crime. And so by implementing new strategic approaches and programs like Thrive, by building stronger communities, we will together build a stronger, safer Florida. So I am excited to be joined here by some folks that are also going to give some remarks. And first we'll bring up Reverend Haynes.
Let me certainly thank our Attorney General for taking this step, because the fact of it is that when these victims are harmed, our community is harmed. And so we appreciate the fact that the Attorney General reached out to the Urban League and have been very instrumental in making this program to reduce the harm to all of us who fear this. And so I just thank her for being here. Daryl Daniels from the Derrick Brooks Foundation out of Tampa, who is part of our Urban League movement, the Foundation for Health of St. Petersburg, our city council people who have been on the front lines, Deborah Saunders and Lisa Wheeler Bowman, who anytime there's an issue, they not only reach out to find a solution, but to figure out what needs to be done about the leftover families. And our chief of police, who's the best chief of police in the world, for all that he does to reach out to us, call us on the phone. He says, Watson, I'm going to let you know now that I'm getting ready to go down and do a press conference. We've nabbed the one guy, and how he reaches out to the point where people call now to the police department who used to not call and say that this is the guy who did it. And so we appreciate that, and appreciate LaDonna and the well. LaDonna started here by doing mental health services to families, and we were able to spin her off to create the well to deal with the trauma in black families. And so we really appreciate that, and certainly appreciate that. So, Attorney General, you have just been phenomenal, as we knew you would be, in really making this happen. I think that Daryl is going to make some remarks. You're going to introduce your friend Daryl. And
Sure, sure.
She wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Daryl.
Does Daryl even need introduction? Daryl Daniels?
Thank you.
Daryl Daniels and I go way back to when I was a juvenile judge, and he was so strong in intervening with kids that were going through some tough times. So thank you.
Thank you so much, General, for that wonderful introduction. I'm Daryl Daniels. I'm with Derrick Brooks Charities, and I'm also a part of the Florida Consortium of Urban League affiliates. I'm here to support the consortium, and certainly my friend of more than 20 years, Watson Haynes. Let me say something about our Attorney General. As she said, this is not new for her. She's the same person that I met over 20 years ago, who was in the business of empowering children and changing lives. When young people had made a mistake, she believed that they were not expendable, and decided to send them to us for what we call life skills training, and to make them better citizens. So when we start talking about Thrive, and we start talking about helping people who are a victim, her job, by most people's definition, is simply to be the chief prosecutor in the state of Florida. However, she recognized people that we see, the victims. Oftentimes when we say someone gets justice, we often think about simply a conviction and a sentence. But what about the services that they need? And that's why I'm proud to stand with the Office of Attorney General and all of the partners here, including people that I have known for 20 plus years, city councilmen, the clergy, Reverend Irby, the person I'm going to introduce next, and including my friend the chief for many, many years. This is not new. And I want to thank you guys, the media, for being here, because most of the time, and we understand that you have to do your job, but there is a victim whenever, and sometimes there can be one perpetrator and a number of victims. And we want to holistically serve and make sure that we can leave victims better than they found them. In our communities, especially communities of color, there are many traumatized people. Now, often the narrative just talks about the person, certainly if it's a homicide, who is deceased, but we don't look at victims holistically. So I stand with the consortium, I stand with the Office of Attorney General, I stand with everyone here and the entire community to say we want to holistically serve our victims. But we also, through the Office of the Attorney General, want to continue what she has helped the consortium to do, prevention. And when prevention does not work, there's times when we have to let law enforcement do its job, but we also have to remember there are always victims. And that's what we're here to do, to see what we can do to help those victims. So I thank everybody for being here, and I want to introduce someone to you that I've known for 20 plus years, and I'm going to say this anyway, because I had to say this to her. The last time I saw her, she was on the corner. She was on the corner advocating for victims. She was on the corner saying that this must stop. She was on the corner saying we can no longer lose another life. She was on the corner saying our children are precious, they're not expendable. So I'm glad to stand with people from both sides of the bay and across the state of Florida to say we're here, and our next speaker will tell you why we're here, because she has for many years, like the Office of Attorney General, my friend, and everybody, stood in the gap for the least of these, which is our victims from the I'm from Tampa, St. Petersburg City Council. I give you Ms. Deborah Figg Saunders.
Thank you, Councilman.
Wow. How do you follow that? First of all, I am Councilmember Deborah Figg Sanders, and I cannot stand here and have such praise thrown my way without including everyone who has been here on the front lines in the city of St. Petersburg to combat this surge of gun violence. Councilmember Lisa Willow Bowman, come on over. Because we represent the city of St. Petersburg's District 5 and District 7. We are not standing here as elected officials, but as mothers, grandmothers, who have sons and daughters and who have witnessed too many times the tears and the drama of victims of gun violence. And for so many people, you say the word victim. What does that mean? Well, we hosted a community conversation to share with our community that victims is multifold. It's not just one person or one family that suffers. Because I always say, crime and injustice in any community impacts our entire city. And it's something that we took an initiative, known as Enough is Enough, to stop the violence, to make sure that we talk to and address the least of these. We could not be in these positions, sit at the table, have access to resources, and thank you now, Attorney Moody, for Thrive, to help allow us to provide some of those services holistically. I have to thank our Chief Anthony Holloway, who has never not answered my call, who has never told me no without a reason why. I want to thank Pastor Kenneth Irby, who also is responsible for our police department's Not My Son campaign, who has also been on the front lines with us in trying to address these I have no descriptions as to the reasons why we find it necessary to resolve conflict with a gun. I have Carl Lavender for Foundation for a Healthy St. Petersburg, who has not hesitated to continue to fund opportunities for those that are looking for answers in the city of St. Petersburg to improve the conditions of our black and brown communities. I have Dr. LaDonna Well from ASJ, who has always been there, and we have to understand why. You know, mental assessments are important, and that is one of the major keys for enough is enough. We have to find out why. We have to understand the generational devaluement of human lives as to why we find it necessary that I don't matter, you don't matter, and unfortunately, some of those young people that we've been standing on the corner for were innocent victims. Miss Simmons was in a car holding her 1-year-old child. She did not know when she woke up that morning that that would be the last time she would dress them, hug them, and hold them. So this moment is so special, Attorney Moody, on more levels than you would ever know. My colleague, Ms. Bowman, who knows loss, who's lost a son to gun violence, that's something we can only think about. We can only imagine. And I also want to recognize Dr. Brittany Peters, and I'm going to get it right, Center for Wellness, because we know that this is going to be a holistic approach. You cannot just serve one. Enough is looking at serving family members as well. We might not be able to bring in the victims or the perpetrators, but we can bring in their family members. So we can provide those services so that we can meet it head on. And we're going to take everybody and every resource. Just because you see these people standing here today, this is not it. We need a community. And I've shared with Chief, I love you, but I'm not trying to use you. We need the community to step up and be held accountable. I heard the term reimagine accountability. Imagine that. Imagine that impact on so many levels. So again, Pastor Haynes, Reverend Haynes, Uncle Haynes, thank you for thinking about enough is enough. Thank you for seeing us on those corners, walking up and down the street, and listening to us and our cry and our plea for wanting to make a difference in the city of St. Petersburg. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you again for those of you that are here with us. As you can see and I know feel, this is a very important program to a lot of people in this community and other communities in Florida where we know Thrive will make a difference. If you think about generational crime or a cycle of crime within a certain community, we can see in headlines and in papers the devastation and heartbreak of that. It is so hard sometimes to see the root cause. And that's what we're all here today to say. We're digging in. We're engaged. We're vested. We're willing to commit not just monetary, but our time and prayers into this issue. When I became the Attorney General, I knew within communities we had to encourage people coming forward to identify violent perpetrators of crime. And I also knew, based on my history as a prosecutor and a judge, that many times people are unwilling, are hesitant, are afraid to do so. So, in conjunction with Crime Stoppers across Florida, the Attorney General's Office and Crime Stoppers launched a one-number approach, a simple number, star tips, where anyone in the state of Florida can pick up their cell phone and anonymously report crime. Let me say that again. One number in Florida, star tips, where anyone in their communities can pick up a cell phone and anonymously report crime. This was a new initiative we just announced a couple of months ago. Why this has never been done, I don't know. But I will tell you, Florida's leading in the nation. Other states are looking at this, and even the national groups are looking at a 1 number. So anybody can remember this. And I hope you'll help me spread it within the communities that we know we're experiencing crime. Star tips. And while monetary rewards are possible, if crimes are solved, I've increased that number for the report of homicides. We just announced that last month. So if you're in a community that's experiencing high homicides, call star tips if you have any information. That will help us go after these perpetrators. It can be done anonymously. Star tips. We can root out offenders. We can root out violent, bad actors. And I know we have great partners willing to help us do that. But at the same time, we have to start healing those that are witnessing and are involved and affected by the crime that's happening. Those are our young people. We want their path forward to be bright and full of hope. And that's what this program, Thrive, is meant to do. To identify them at an early stage in their life where we can help them recover from traumatic experiences and go on to lead productive, accountable, fruitful, happy lives, free of crime in the neighborhoods in which they know and love and grew up. So the communities can help us identify perpetrators, calling star tips, and they can help us identify those who may be victims of crime and refer them to our new Thrive program so that they can get the help they need and we can strengthen our communities that we love so much. So thank you again for bringing attention to this important program. Thank you again to these amazing folks up here that are leading and pleading for change. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have. All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, we'll absolutely do a picture.
Okay.
Let's step over here.